With the most recent update, Cold War Zombies gave us a new game mode called Outbreak Survival, and basically it's a variation of the somewhat controversial Outbreak game mode. The way it works is actually quite simple. It's pretty much Outbreak, except there is no health regeneration, loadouts are disabled, so you start every game with a 1911 pistol, there is no mini-map, no overhead map, and no blueprints. And the only way to regen your health is to pick up various food items that you get as drops. And that's pretty much it. There isn't a whole lot of changes made, but the thing is, sometimes a few changes to an old experience can provide an entirely new experience. That is, if the right changes are made. And essentially, that's what we have with Outbreak Survival. All they did was take a few options away from the players, and I'm happy to say that even though most of the time something like that wouldn't really turn out good, Outbreak Survival is the exception to the rule. So how good is it? Now, with Cold War Zombies, Treyarch has had a not so great track record when it comes to the abundance of the different variations of secondary game modes. We got 2 different versions of Cranked, 2 different versions of Outbreak, and about 57 different variations of Onslaught. It just seems like they were focusing on quantity way too much, and they were just worried that if they stopped releasing content for 2 seconds, the entire community would proceed to have a brain aneurysm. So they resorted to creating different variations of all these secondary game modes and releasing them as new content. Those variations are more hit than miss, because they were having to throw a bunch of shit at the wall and seeing what sticks. Sometimes it worked, and other times it didn't. And I'm glad to say that they didn't miss with Outbreak Survival, because even though on paper it seems like they only made a few changes, the outcome is an experience that is much more intense than normal Outbreak. Out of all the criticisms that Outbreak has received, the most prominent one by far is that it's boring. And as much as I hate to say it, it's kind of true. There just isn't enough in the maps to keep the player engaged at all times. The reason why the Battle Royale game modes worked in those large-scale maps is because when you're in that environment, yes, you have to walk very long distances, and most of the time you do everything other than engaging in a gunfight, but the stakes are very high. So you always have to pay attention, and you always have to be on your toes and make sure you don't get shot at. But in Outbreak, as long as there are no zombies around, you're safe. And even when you do come across zombies, they're not that much of a threat. So when you're roaming around the map on Outbreak, the engagement level is very low because you don't have much to lose. And even if you do face a setback, it's very easy to recover from. And since you're gonna spend the majority of your time on Outbreak roaming around the map, most of the time the game is boring. The only time when it's not boring is when you're doing objectives. In a nutshell, that's basically all that's wrong with Outbreak, and Outbreak Survival basically fixes that problem. And the way it does it is actually quite simple. In Outbreak, the stakes are not high enough for you to stay alert the whole time. On Outbreak Survival, it's completely the opposite because you're trying your best not to get hit by the zombies. Because every time you do, you actually lose your health, which you can't get back unless you pick up food items. So now, every encounter that you have with the zombies becomes much more intense. And as the result of that, you have to stay alert and you have to pay attention because now you have something that you can lose very easily. It's almost as if Outbreak Survival should have been what we got instead of Outbreak, because in comparison, Outbreak Survival just seems to be the superior version. Now, it has some issues, it's not perfect, but overall, it is a decent game mode. So let's talk about some details. The food items are basically just like any other item that you get as a drop. They have different rarities. The lower tier drops, like bananas and corn, give you a little bit of health, while the legendary food items like pizzas and cheeseburgers give you a lot of health. The game is quite generous with these drops, but when you come across the different enemy types like the Russian Mangler or the Tempest or any other enemy type that can hit you with projectiles from a distance away, it becomes more and more difficult to not get hit and not lose any health. So even though the game is generous with the food drops, you're still not gonna feel safe. There is one problem though. When it gets really hectic, especially in the middle of doing objectives, you're gonna want to recover by picking up food drops. But the problem is, there's gonna be a bunch of other drops on the ground as well. mainly equipment. And there's a very good chance that you're gonna pick up the wrong item. You might pick up a grenade instead of a slice of pizza, and if there's one thing this life has taught me is that those two things are not interchangeable in any scenario. If you pick up a grenade instead of a slice of pizza, you're fucked, and that applies to pretty much any situation. And in Outbreak Survival, there is a pretty good chance that you might do that, and even if you manage to get out of that situation eventually, you might still lose valuable equipment because you picked up a grenade when you were trying to pick up something else, and you ended up giving up equipment that you needed. And it gets a little worse. The food drops are not the only thing that allow you to regen your health. There are 3 other things that you can utilize to get back the health that you're going to inevitably lose. The first one is Stim Shots. They are extremely valuable in this game mode because they help you fully recover no matter how much damage you take. The second one is Healing Aura, which I find to be a little boring to use, but in this game mode it's probably at its most useful. The other thing is knifing. You can knife the zombies and for every hit you get back 15 health, but the problem with that method is that 1, 15 health is not a lot, and 2, it's risky to get close to zombies. It just doesn't make sense for you to put yourself in danger to recover a little bit of health. You can get 15 health back with 1 hit, but if the zombies hit you, no matter which round you're on, you will always lose more health by getting hit than you get back by knifing. But it's still a method that you can use. It's not a good one, but it's there. So other than picking up food, the best options you have are Healing Aura and Stim Shots. And sometimes when it gets chaotic and you're in the middle of doing an objective, you might pick up a tactical equipment instead of a food item and give up your Stim Shots as well. And then you're gonna panic and want to use your Stim Shots only to realize you accidentally swapped them out with something else, which in turn is going to put you in a very bad situation. I just think the food items should be on auto pickup, kind of like how ammo drops and salvage work in Cold War Zombies. I think that would make it a lot less of a headache to recover from a setback. One other thing I should mention is that because Stim Shots are very important in this game mode, that automatically makes Meal Kick a more important perk. Because with Meal Kick you can buy Stim Shots for cheaper, and sometimes there's a chance that when you use a Stim Shot it's gonna get replenished, which are 2 of the advantages that the tier upgrades for Meal Kick give you, and in Outbreak Survival it feels more necessary to have those 2 advantages. The other thing that might be a little bit of a surprise is that Quick Revive is a lot less useful in this game mode, since the main function of Quick Revive is to help you regenerate your health faster. So you might want to get Quick Revive as one of the last perks because you're not going to need it for a while. You will need it eventually because it basically gives you a second self-revive, but you're probably not going to need it until later on when the game becomes a lot more unforgiving and challenging. Overall, I think Outbreak Survival is a really solid game mode. It actually improves on some of Outbreak's flaws, and I know it's a limited time game mode, but I have a feeling if it's received well enough by the community, Treyarch will make it a permanent game mode, and I really hope that actually happens. That is gonna do it for today's video. Let me know in the comment section down below what you think of Outbreak Survival. I do hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to drop a like, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.